going to be talking about genetics, topic of phenotypes and genotypes, that kind of stuff. So a phenotype is basically an observable characteristic. So that can be behavior, appearance, stuff like that. So a genotype, on the other hand, is the complete genetic makeup of an organism. A genotype can also be used to refer to the allele or variants of genes that people carry. An allele is basically a variant or alternate form of a gene. So the difference between an allele and a gene is that while a gene specifies trait, an allele specifies what form that gene will take. Eye color, for example. A gene would specify the trait, which would be eye color, and an allele would specify what color the eye will actually be, whether brown, blue. So this is a Punnett square. A Punnett square is a diagram that people use to predict the genotype of an organism. It's usually used in breeding experiments since I'd imagine not much stays the same. We can use the Punnett square to calculate the outcome of a phenotype. So using a Punnett square, we are able to calculate the outcome or the likelihood that, for example, a person's eyes will be brown or a person's eyes will be blue. So there are two types of allele, dominant and recessive. So usually they would be called dominant genes and recessive genes. So dominant versus recessive genes. So dominant genes are genes that will override the recessive gene. Obviously, it isn't always like a recessive gene is present, but dominant genes will always override them. On the other hand, recessive genes, if there are, I guess, two of them, so can only have a 100% chance of having blue eyes if both of your parents have blue eyes. We can see that for an offspring to have blue eyes, both parents must have the blue allele, but that doesn't exactly mean that both parents must have blue eyes. Here we can see that one parent has brown eyes and the other parent has blue eyes. We can see that in the two lower boxes, blue eyes are the outcome, and in the two top boxes, brown eyes are the outcome. This is because even though both parents do not have blue eyes, both of them have the blue allele in addition to one of them actually having blue eyes. So, seeing that there are two blue eyes in this diagram and two brown eyes, we can see that there's a 50% chance for their offspring to have blue eyes and a 50% chance for their offspring to have brown eyes. To conclude, it would technically be possible for an offspring whose parents both have brown eyes to have blue eyes, and that's only possible if both parents have the blue allele, and that would be a 25% chance, as seen in this Punnett square. Hybrids are basically the offspring of two different species. An example of a hybrid would be a donkey and a horse. So obviously a donkey is not 100% equivalent to a horse, because while it may resemble a horse, it might look the same, it might act the same, it isn't a horse. So when a donkey and a horse mate, their offspring is known as a mule, which means it's a hybrid because it's an offspring of two different species. So that's basically what a hybrid is. An adaptation would be how an organism would adapt to its environment to survive. And that plays a big role in natural selection, because natural selection is basically just who is stronger, who is more powerful will win and become successful. And adaptation plays a role in this because animals rely on adaptation to survive, and if they are actually able to survive, then according to natural selection, if they are strong, then they will be successful and they will have offspring.